Hey teachers, today we're going to be talking about watercolor techniques that you can use in your classroom, and they're super simple. The kids enjoy them and it can really enhance your lessons. The first technique that we're going to do is called wet on wet, and it's just simply getting your paintbrush wet, putting a square of water on your paper, and then you will have gotten your paints wet before, and then you can drop it in. And you can see that effect. A lot of artists use this for clouds or ocean, kind of water. But that's a fun one to experiment with. Then the next technique that we're going to talk about allows for a lot sharper lines. So if you want detailed or clear pictures, it's going to be wet on dry. So the paper's dry, but the paint is wet. And you notice that gives you much clearer edges. So that's another technique that you can use. The next technique we're going to do is to show you what happens when we put salt in. And you don't want it too wet, because if it's too wet, the salt will just disappear. And so kind of a light coating. And then sprinkle a little bit of salt on. And then as it dries, the salt will absorb the water around the crystals, leaving kind of a snowflake effect when it dries. So as you can see, the salt crystals, wherever they land, they absorb the water around them, leaving these really cool patterns that artists can use this like for foliage, or they can use it for a starry sky or even snow. And the kids are really, really fascinated with this technique. Another technique you can use is to paint a big patch of color and then get your paintbrush wet with just water. And then you paint on top of it any kind of form that you're interested in. And this is called lifting. And what it does is the water absorbs some of the pigment from the paper. And then you blot it. And then that leaves a shape. With my students, I called it ghosting because they thought that was really cool. But it's really lifting, it's just lifting pigment off the paper. All right, another technique that you can use is to use a white crayon on your paper and just draw whatever lines you want. And obviously it's not going to show up super well, but then you get a little bit of paint. You can do some color over the top, and then the crayon pops that white out and you can see your design underneath. I hope these watercolor techniques give you some fun ideas to infuse some creativity into your lessons.